Hey everybody, Argent here. Just going to bed in an hour or two, and yeah, just figured I'd come on and say hi to everybody. Gotta get those sweet, sweet views, and gotta get that sweet, sweet revenue, baby. That's what it's all about. So yeah, if you're wondering, I am playing SWOTOR, aka the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic. I absolutely love the game. It's probably the only MMO I actually like. I played it a lot. I actually finished the Sith Inquisitor campaign. I'm doing the Jedi Knight campaign at the moment. I know it's kind of generic, but the Jedi Knight one is where you actually get to fight. What's his name? The Sith Emperor. I'm playing Knights of the Fallen Empire at the moment with my Sith Inquisitor. It's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, I'm not here to shill for BioWare. This was like the last good thing BioWare made. BioWare is shit now. I'm not even sure if BioWare made this. Maybe like some of the few remaining good employees made this. I don't know. It is what it is. Nothing I can do, but I digress. So yeah, I don't really have any particular agenda or topic. So I don't know if people just want to ask me something. What's your opinion on something? What do you think about this? Whatever. Go ahead. If not else, I guess I'll just ramble on it for a while. So yeah. Yeah, Jedi Knight's not a bad class. My personal favorite class, I'd say, is Sith Inquisitor. Fun, run, done. Yeah, the death of BioWare is really sad because I used to be like a BioWare fanboy. There used to be 3 games I would just buy, regardless of like without even looking at it. The 3 things I would buy would be the I'm trying to remember what they were called again. Fire Emblem, BioWare, and
I need more general.
Fire Emblem, BioWare, and any Dark Souls game. And I'd buy any of those that would come out, but then some of them just went to shit. Argent, who is your favorite Jedi and your favorite Sith?
How far away is
favorite Jedi? That's difficult. Honestly, I know this is kind of a generic answer. Favorite Jedi might be Obi-Wan Kenobi, actually. And I'll actually give a slightly more interesting reason. Obi-Wan Kenobi is known to not be particularly Force-sensitive. Some people list him as being slightly above average. Some people list him as being average. Some people list him as being below average in terms of his Force ability. But he was one of the most effective Jedi. And one of the, probably the best Jedi general of the Clone Wars. And that was because what Obi-Wan did was he made up for his lack of raw Force talent by being really smart. Having really good strategy, being able to understand his opponents, being able to get inside of their heads and use their weaknesses against them. So, yeah, so Obi-Wan I really respect for that. Like, Anakin is, I think, canonically the strongest raw Force user who ever lived. But Obi-Wan was able to beat him because Obi-Wan outsmarted him. So I have a lot of respect for him for that. It's kind of like in Harry Potter, in the first Harry Potter book. There is that really basic logic puzzle that fooled most of the wizards because wizards don't have any common sense because they're used to using magic for everything. And in this universe, people use the Force for everything. So Obi-Wan kind of putting in the time and effort to do, I guess, really kind of basic due diligence. Anything new about DSP Gaming? Not for a couple days. Did you do anything for Mother's Day? I got my mother a nice bottle of wine. That's normally my kind of go-to for her birthdays. I really don't like to get people things that they probably aren't going to use, so I either like to give them like something consumable or like a gift card. My mother likes wine a lot, so I go and I get her a nice bottle of wine from the LCBO, normally for birthdays. In general, my favorite thing to play as in SWTOR is light side Sith. I really like light Sith. I wish they had more attention in canon. Um, Favorite Sith is hard. Once again, I don't want to give kind of the more generic answer. It's probably Palpatine, which I know is like the most generic answer possible. But he's kind of like Obi-Wan in the fact that what makes Palpatine so powerful isn't just his raw power, and he probably is like in the top 5 strongest Force users to ever live, but it's his commitment to studying, his commitment to kind of going through, really, I guess, kind of doing the legwork. And that's also something I really like about Darth Bane. Because Darth Bane, while being like 6'6" and being built like a brick wall, he was also primarily known as an intellect. He was an intellectual who spent most of his time studying things, trying to like dig through ancient Sith artifacts, etc. I like people who work for their powers and kind of have natural power, but also try to use like learning and education and practice to exploit that. Why are you leveling when you can start with a 60 character? Because I like this story. I want to experience this story. Someone's talking about Alexandro Jodorowsky. He made like some of the worst movies I've ever seen. I don't really think it's like, if I was going to pick the least pleasant movie experience of all time, El Topo might be. I don't. It's kind of hard to pick. Like, the worst movie experience I ever had was probably Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in theaters. The worst movie I've ever watched is probably El Topo. It's kind of hard. But no, I hate Alexander Jodorowsky. I hate art movies, and I just don't like that kind of style, to be perfectly honest. I have a fairly normie taste in movies. Or I guess I kind of like slightly smarter normie movies, I guess you could say. Let's see here. Why didn't Anakin ever repair his body? That's kind of like a plot hole. But my general understanding is that Palpatine deliberately limited how good his cybernetics were and how much he could repair himself, because he was scared of Anakin. Because the thing you have to keep in mind about Palpatine was Palpatine wanted to end the rule of 2. He intended to live forever, and he didn't want his apprentice to overthrow him. Bane was so dedicated to the rule of 2 that when he was convinced that his apprentice Darth Zana wasn't strong enough to overthrow him, it really upset him, and he kind of started searching for a new apprentice who would be strong enough to kill him, because he was determined to die. Do you still run across other players from time to time? In SWTOR, not really. I just play it as a single-player game, to be honest. I have a lot of fun with it. I find there's just a lot of content in it. And they have... Basically, after a couple of years of this, they've just made it so you can level to 60 just by doing storyline missions. You don't have to do any grinding, and you don't have to do any shitty side quests unless you want to. So that's nice.
Lives. Thanks to you, we can get...
What will you do if they...
We'll build turrets near the pipe. Hang on.
I was hoping I'd reach you.
Things seem...
Except the Empire's.
So...
We going after the...
Also, it's old school BioWare, so there's lots of waifus in it. Kira's a pretty good waifu.
Good as new.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Last Jedi teaser trailer? I think I watched it and it just made me angry. It's just gonna be shit. I mean, let's be honest. The Force Awakens was an awful movie. And I don't just mean that in terms of the dildo diversity in it. I don't just mean that. Like, it was just a bad movie in general. Rey and Finn are awful characters. Kylo Ren could have been interesting, but he's just kind of like this whiny faggot. He's just completely unlikable and unsympathetic. Yeah. You play KOTOR? Yeah, I played both KOTORs. Do you think Finn and Rey will race mix? I don't know. The funniest thing was my friend Abstract, when he first saw the trailer for The Force Awakens, he said the irony is race mixing ensures that we won't see technology like Star Wars. Which is pretty funny. But maybe they'll make them gay. That's what I hope. Him and Poe. But no, Finn is a terrible character, and Rey is also a terrible character. And Poe is a terrible character. Probably of like the new ones, what would you have done with Star Wars if you had been given the ability to make a new trilogy? Oh god, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. I probably would have taken a lot of Timothy Zahn's ideas and kind of removed some of the shitty aspects of them. I think making Thrawn the villain would have been good, and kind of trying to be a bit subversive with it. Like, have the Empire kind of restored under Thrawn and make it, like, not cartoonishly evil, but make it, like, a real ideological opponent to the New Republic. And have just a lot of, I guess, internal tension in the Republic. All kinds of, like, different political groups and different, like, alien minorities fighting one another. And to kind of make it look like the Empire to be a real ideological rival to the Republic, not just kind of a cartoony villains. Can you do more Chris Chan videos? I guess I can. I don't really have a ton else to say. Maybe I'll do a update video on it. This game is trash. Well, Source Size, you just complain about everything. So, yeah, there's been some recent Chris Chan stuff. It just really hasn't been interesting enough. Honestly, the new movies are completely pointless. Well, they are. The new movies are shit. What's your opinion on the Nostalgia Critic? Nostalgia Critic... there's that expression from Batman that I think is one of the most accurate things in existence. Either you die or you live long enough to become a villain. And I think that's really what happened with the Nostalgia Critic. I do have an immense amount of respect for Doug Walker for what he built, for what he achieved, for what he was able to do. I mean, he completely changed the internet. And there's not that many people who can say they completely invented, like, a new genre of something. Like, his kind of skit, parody interviews, kind of taking... Someone says Bane. It's like, no, that's something Harvey Dent said. But yeah, just kind of taking kind of nerdy pop culture things and analyzing them more and kind of treating them more seriously and that sort of thing, I think really spawned a lot of people. Like, in part, I started doing this because of the AVGN and the Nostalgia Critic, and I think most people who make videos started to do that. I think there's a lot of us who, as kids, would watch like things like cartoon shows or play video games or something, and we'd go, I think there is I'd like to maybe analyze this a bit. I think there is like something kind of meaningful or something we could learn, even if this is kind of like a goofy cartoon show. And he kind of made it okay to do that, and he kind of did a template for that. And even though the whole website eventually kind of turned to trash and the whole thing kind of just didn't wind up very good, I think I have a lot of credit. I have a lot of respect for the man. His personal life is kind of a disaster. The website collapsed, but like I said, he achieved something, and he created a complete new genre, and he revolutionized kind of how content was made on the internet. So I'll always have a lot of respect for him for that, and I'll always have a lot of respect for the AVGN. I've been singing his praises for a long time. I also give the AVGN a lot of respect for just things not being political. Like, he never brings in politics, he never brings in drama. He's just kind of like... James Rolfe always, like, whenever he's being interviewed, he just seems like the nicest guy. He's like this really humble, just kind of down-to-earth guy who just likes making movies and entertaining people. And in kind of a world where you have just all these, like, drama people, just all this, like, YouTube bullshit, like DSP, like Onision, just all this weird stuff, it's nice to kind of see somebody who just is like this guy who likes to make movies, who just likes to be an entertainer. There's just nothing else really to it. And you can tell when he does it that he's enjoying himself. And I think that is something that's very important when you're making a movie or you're making a product, is that you're like committed to it, that you're enjoying yourself. I think a lot of movies, even if they have flaws, if you can tell that the actors had a lot of like, just were having fun, I think it makes the movie better. Like, the Fast and the Furious movies are dumb. I'm not gonna lie. They a lot of dumb stuff happens in them. But part of why it works, and part of why kind of the crazy shit going on works, is because you can tell that the cast really
Let's talk
is having a lot of fun.
Galaxy right now.
Like, you can tell the cast like each other. There's a lot of chemistry, and they're just trying to enjoy making the movie. And I think that really makes a difference. And just with James Rolfe, that's always the impression I get.
There, good.
And that's something I really appreciate about the guy. What do you think of TRS? You seem to have some animosity towards them. I just don't want to deal with TRS. I guess that's the way to put it. TRS just has so much drama. It just has a lot of... It's just kind of radioactive. It's a very toxic environment. I think is kind of the best way to put it. If you draw the attention of TRS, you're going to get trolled, you're going to get shit posters, you're going to have kind of all that stuff kind of happening. So I just really don't like talking about them or dealing with them because, yeah. But it's, yeah. What was I thinking of? Do you like The Daily Show? I haven't listened to The Daily Show in like 2 years. I'm just not really, I don't know. I've just kind of, it's just not really my thing. I don't really like the humor much anymore. I don't really like the environment. It's just not really for me. TRS and that kind of stuff. Once again, just kind of the drama, the shit posting, the neo-sincerity, just kind of all that weird stuff. Can you do a character profile of Adolf Hitler and thoughts on the Nazis? No, I can't really. It's just something I don't want to talk about. I've addressed it periodically in the past. The people I get the most flames from are neo-pagans and neo-Nazis. Liberals don't even really flame me that often. Well, A, they can't really find me. But if I have to look at the most people I've just blocked over time, it's normally neo-pagans and Nat socks. Let's see here. What do you think of the original Halo games? I bought Halo 1 for PC and I absolutely loved it. I would prefer a character profile in Oswald Mosley or Pope Francis. I suppose I could do one of those at some point in time. I mean, if you want to know what kind of determines what I do, what determines which character profiles I do, it's kind of what I'm reading. Because I have my books on Audible, and I just will do one based on whatever I'm reading at the moment. Nuclear Pepe points out I did actually do a video on Adolf Hitler. Yeah, he's right. I did a reactionary review of, Look Who's Back, which was a movie about what if Hitler came back. And I kind of talked about that. Argent, do you still respect Pope Francis? No, I don't. I'm not even like that tratty, but I do struggle with sedevacantism at times. What's your opinion on Dickie Spencer?
I'm off.
Dickie Spencer is an interesting figure. I think, as I've said in the past, he's just kind of a weirdo. I think that's kind of the best way to put it. Richard Spencer is just really a really strange guy. He kind of explains things in a weird way. His voice is really odd. He looks really odd. I just think he's like a really bad person to be seen as a movement leader. I just don't find him likable or relatable or able to really explain things. I mean, as I've said in the past, I have a lot of respect for Jared Taylor. Jared Taylor, I unironically call him, as kind of like an affectionate joke, the Supreme Gentleman. Jared Taylor just seems like this old grandfatherly guy, like the kind of guy who would take you fishing and like buy you an ice cream cone. And I just, I really like him. He reminds me a lot of my grandfather. I say Dickie Spencer just to kind of be joking. I don't really mean it as an insult per se. Kind of like how when I call Japanese people super gooks, I don't mean that as like an insult. I mean it as just kind of like an affectionate joke. Let's see here. Just in terms of Spencer being I just don't see him as really being much of an intellectual. I used to listen to, I think it's like All Right Podcast or Radix Journal, and there's just not really that much there. I tried listening to it and I just found it very boring, uninteresting.
There, good as new.
I don't like him. I really don't like Colin Liddell. I don't know why people like Colin Liddell. Everything I've ever read from him or heard him say is trash. It's just, they're just all so really boring. I guess this is kind of my issue with a lot of them. Let's see here. Do you think Hitler would be able to undiversify America? Well, I guess I don't want to get too much into Hitler, but I think the thing people have to keep in mind about Hitler is Hitler was not what we would consider a white nationalist. He wasn't. Hitler was a German chauvinist, I think is the best way to describe him. I'm just trying to think of how to term it. Yeah, Hitler was a German chauvinist. He was not particularly...
Appreciate your business.
Like, the concept of, like, he was kind of, like, believed in, like, this Aryan group, but the Aryan group was really poorly defined. Like, what does it... Because, like, who was Aryan really depended upon how much actual worth you were to the German war effort. Like, the Finns, despite not being related to the Germanic peoples, were deemed Nordic because they were helpful to the German war effort, and the Japanese were honorary Aryans, but Slavs weren't. So, like, people from Poland and Croatia were not Aryans, but the Finns were. Like, it's just... And I guess my issue is I really hate when I see Slavs who are like neo-Nazis and idealize Hitler. Because Slavs... I mean, Hitler wanted to exterminate them. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. Let's see here. Radix made a list of... Yeah, so, like, one of the things that the Nazis came up with was that because the Mediterranean peoples had so many accomplishments, and if you kind of added it up, they would actually probably have accomplished more than the Germanic peoples had for a long period of time. They started to come up with this conspiracy theory that, like, all the Roman and Greek upper class were all actually Nords. Let's see, Matt Forney says, Liddell's been a good friend to me over the years. I'll defend him. He's a loyal guy. Which means a lot in the coven of backstabbers, that is the alt-right. Yeah, but Colin Liddell's fucking crazy. Let me find that article. The worst article I've ever read. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. This is literally the worst article I've ever read. Let's see here. Germans are better now than Mediterraneans today. Well, yeah, I mean, many... Okay, so there were, I don't know, there's been blonde Mediterraneans and red-haired Mediterraneans. There's a lot of natural diversity in various ethnic groups. Let's see here. Bill Nye the Science Guy. It's sad because I actually grew up like watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I really enjoyed his show. But now he's just become complete shit. And it's really sad, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. I really used to look up to him, but now he's just, yeah. It's funny how they censored, they removed that part of one of his episodes where he was talking about how gender is biologically determined. And they censored that, which I think is amazing. Can you do a video on Fatima? I don't know what to think about Fatima. My Italian great-grandmother had red hair. Could be a sign of Norman ancestry. It could be. I mean, there are blonde-haired, blue-eyed people in the Mediterranean. It's just not that common. It's just like, I mean, these things have always existed in that part of the world. It's just not always that many. Let's see here. What else was I thinking about? But it's just not a topic I'm particularly interested in.
Let's talk later. Feels like we gotta be saving the galaxy right now.
What was I thinking about? Did anyone else have anything they wanted to ask me? I just kind of lost my train of thought at the moment.
You'll live.
Belloc claimed Nordicism was a result of the Reformation, cutting Northerners off from the Med. I don't know. I just honestly think it was... I don't know. It could just be special snowflakeism. I think that's one way to put it. It's just, I don't know.
You're fine.
What other leaders do you like in the far right? I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. I'll have to think about that at some point. I've never been on 4chan or 8chan. No, I've never been there, to be perfectly honest. I'd have to think about other leaders. I just haven't really thought about that, to be perfectly honest. Thoughts on Ed Fezer and Roger Scruton? No idea. Do you believe in Pan-Europeanism? No, I don't really believe in Pan-Europeanism, to be honest. I think it's kind of an idea that's been come up with by North Americans. It's yeah, I don't know. I think there should be like some loose kind of confederation of things. But the current EU is a mistake. It's not good.
My master senses war.
I'm here to help.
When the Empire killed,
You're afraid to fight.
I've lost my only
Anyways.
personal executioner for me.
I think I'm gonna head to bed now. I'm still feeling kind of sick. Just figured I'd come on and say hi to everybody. Night, guys.